Well, thank you, Sulaiman. You're definitely right on that one. It was very interesting comparing the population we had back in 1979 with what we currently have. I mean, that's the national population. The findings have been interesting. Well, as you did rightly point out, we decided to start from 1979 because that was the year Nigeria switched from the parliamentary system to the presidential system. So from 1979, the population size was then about 7.8 million, so close to 78 million as it were, and you had a voter registration of just about 48 million, 48.4 million, and then the total voter turnout on that day was a little over 17 million votes. So you have about 35.25% turnout of people for the presidential elections in 1979. In 1983, then the figures were not very available, but from what we had, registered voters were 65.3 million. Total valid votes, the number of people who came out and their vote to recognize, was just about 25.4 million people. In 1993, you do recall that there was a coup in the end, towards the end of that year, and Nigeria did not enter democracy or try to do elections again until 1993. Recall the June 12, 1993 elections.
Sorry, I think you meant to say the 1983 elections, that there was a coup after the 83
Oh,
elections.
yes, 83 elections. I hope that's what I said.
No, you said 1993.
I beg your pardon.
No.
Well, in 93 was when we now had the June 12 elections. Recall that the elections were annulled, but it was also said to be the freest and fairest. Then the total number of registered voters were not available as at that time, but the total vote was 14 million, just a little above 14 million. If you look at the population, by this time it has spiraled to 105. So from 1979, when you had about 77 million people in Nigeria, you now have about 105, but the figure had changed. The number of people participating in elections had changed to 14 million. These are some of the issues that we hope to examine as to what exactly influences people coming out. But 1999, which is this dispensation, the Fourth Republic, from 1999, registered voters, from what we hear, understand, we had about 57.9, so close to 58 million people registering to vote. Take a look at the population. 108.2 million Nigerians were estimated to be in the country at that time, and you had total vote at 30.28 million people. Voter turnout was put at 52.26, which was a great improvement. In 2003, it went up to 69.08%. That's voter turnout from 1999. The population, of course, also spiraled up. But I can tell you for sure that 2003 was where we experienced the highest population of voter turnout. In 2007, it dipped to 57.4%. If the figures will come up there. I also wanted to take a look at the population of the country at that time, but the registration figures shows that we had 61.5 million people. The total vote was 35.3. The voter turnout, however, dipped, if you want to put it that way, to 57.49 from 69, for close to 70%, which we saw it in 2003. In 2011, which was when we had the biometric registration, I do hope that people recall that in 2011, total number of registered voters before INEC finally cleaned out that register was put at about 73.5 million registered voters. In 2011, they had about 39.469 million voters coming out to register to vote, which was about 53.68 percent coming out to vote. It dipped further from 2007. Now, for the 2015 elections, we do understand that about 68.833 million voters registered for these elections. The PVC collection, which has been another factor to consider for the 2015 elections, was put at 56 as at the 21st of March this year. That's the last day for collection of PVCs. It was put at 56, just about over 56 million voters. That's about 81% of that figure. That's 81% of over 68 million collected their voter cards. We do not know just yet what the voter turnout will be yet, but I'm wondering if Doctor will be able to tell us one or two things as to what she's noticed in terms of the presentation of these figures. What do you think influences, for instance, voter turnout and voter participation in elections?
Well, there are several things. If you look at 2003, you were talking about 69.8%, and 2007, there was a decline. And that could also be as a result of the assessment of the people of who have voted. So what have we gotten from that? So that might affected that might be what affected that voters turnout in 2007. And if you also see, if you look at 2011, there seems to be another, it is also a decline from 57 to 53%, which also goes to the fact that maybe people are not happy about the state of things. You don't think it's really compulsory for you to go and vote, and you don't think that you can really see anything coming out of your votes. And that's why in 2015, it becomes much more important for us to look at what's the expression of the people in terms of what 2015 is going to hold for them. There's been a lot of discussion around, and I think interestingly, more than ever before, this 2015, people have been talking about political parties. They were talking about personalities. But more than ever before, they have also started talking about issues. People came up to talk about pacts with the people. People came up to talk about what they believe that they have done, to make people to vote for them in 2015. I think the narrative is gradually changing.
We heard Professor Akiode himself saying that it is the first time that we're recording such high numbers of eligible voters, and it is a credit for the commission itself and for Nigerians. What are your thoughts along this line? Will we see an equally, high number coming out to vote tomorrow?
Well, I think one of the things we also need to give to INEC and the leadership of Jega himself is that in 2011, I think we were able to establish some form of credibility for elections, both within and also outside Nigeria. The election there are some hiccups here and there, but there was a general feeling that it was better than the other elections that we used to have in Nigeria. And if there is any increase whatsoever in 2015, I'm also sure that's because of what happened in 2011. There seems to be people had reposed some confidence in INEC, and probably that's why we have some of the development.
What are the determining factors you feel that will compel people to feel a sense of security and wanting to come out tomorrow?
Well, there's been a lot of talk around the issue of security. And there have also been a lot of discussions around the time has come for Nigerians to make a decision to determine the kind of destiny they want for themselves and all that. I believe that also the development between 2013 and 2015, we have two major. There are other political parties, but in a way, it seems there are some. We have that two major political parties, and one way or the other, there seems to be a lot of contestation among them, and we have had promises here and there, from both political parties. I think that people have also been able to make up their mind in a very different manner. You see Nigerians talking about, I have somebody else a particular political party to vote for presidency. I'm going to vote for another person, another political party, for at the state level, which means there seems to be some general awareness in terms of why should we vote, who should we vote for, and all that. So I think with all that, people would go out en masse tomorrow to vote.
The focus, you were saying, has been mostly on the executive. So you find that a lot of people are talking about even the figures I presented, although we also have the figures for the parliamentary polls, but the focus usually and largely is on the presidential candidates and also on the governorship candidates. You hardly hear anything about what happens at the assembly level. Have you noticed anything in terms of people campaigning or even people showing enthusiasm for wanting to vote for their representatives at the National Assembly?
Well, I think maybe it's also about what we see in the media, I think what we have seen in the last couple of weeks is we see more of the presidential candidate talking and campaigning, and the gubernatorial candidates campaigning. Well, we see posters of people running for House of Assembly, House of Representatives, but I think more than ever before, the focus is not on the House of Assembly, House of Rep, National Assembly, but more on the gubernatorial candidates and the presidential candidate, which is actually something that we need to.
Some people, just